Not to short circuit anything we're doing at Mizen and Main. I hope it continues to be enormous.
Absolutely not, yeah.
But I think that there is an opportunity to do something even greater and even larger with Harper, and it's part of why I've set off on, somewhere along the lines of at least a decade-long journey. Because if we're successful, it'll be at least that long of a journey. And so, the idea that I had for Mizen and Main felt like a game-changing idea, and if I did it right, could have an impact, and it unequivocally has. We were laughed out of every trade show when we started. Today, when we go, we have basically, I was begging people to meet with us at trade shows. And today, we're wall-to-wall, every single trade show, open till close, and then meetings afterwards. And every business has copied us in some way, shape, or form that's in the industry. And some have sprung up and copied literally every single thing that we've done. If you look at their website and you look at our website, it's basically a carbon copy. That's great, and I'm really proud of what we've done. The idea for what is now Harper, and I've gotten good feedback along the way that's helped it morph, I think will become a defining company in the parenting space. And parenting, don't get me wrong, clothes are amazing. I'm really proud of what we've done, and we've built a great business which has a lot of impact. But our focus with Harper is changing parents and kids' lives, enabling parents and kids to get more sleep and sanity in their lives in a time when there is almost zero. And the market is so fragmented with such absolutely atrocious products in the baby monitor and sleep space. It's just all the more amazing, having had 2 kids myself, when you look at the baby registry process and the recommendation process and how passionate parents are. Whatever the best is, parents want that for their kids. And the best baby monitors today are terrible. They're still terrible, and the idea came from me 8 years ago when I had my first child. And ultimately, when it comes to sleep, there's so much bad information out there and so much fear and uncertainty and doubt that drives up postpartum depression and parental anxiety. If we can do what we set out to do, we will fundamentally transform millions of lives and give parents and kids billions of hours of sleep back. I'm very happy to see a very serious focus on sleep today in a way that hasn't been for years. When I started Mizen and Main, I remember reading, blogs of people saying like, I want to hack sleep, and who needs sleep, and you'll sleep when you're dead, and 100-hour a week, startup, that's the only way to succeed. And that's absolutely terrible. In every possible way, short-circuiting sleep is one of the worst things that you can do for your health across the board. And when it comes to kids, there's so much bad information out there with how you help kids learn the skill of sleep, that when it comes to a child's health, they have to be able to get enough calories in a day. Babies just fundamentally cannot last that long without calories, and they need sleep. Everything else is like 5th down the list, and it gets a lot of focus when really you should just say, are they eating enough? And are they learning how to sleep? And I think that's how we can help change the world.
Tell us about the technology.
So, very critical backstory as to why I decided to go do this again. And Ryan, I'll circle back on kind of the lessons learned and how I'm incorporating them. But when my son was born, I did a lot of research. I was not the person who chose many of the baby things, but when it came to the baby monitor, I'm more of a tech guy. I said, I'll go do the research. And a company called Nanny got all the tech press, they got all the love, they got all the articles written about them. It was a Wi-Fi camera with an app on your phone. And I thought, oh, that's convenient, I like that. And the first night I used it, I realized I don't really like that, because you have to sleep with your phone next to you, and that's bad for people on a whole host of levels. It's really not a good idea to sleep next to your phone, but that's fine. That's what I'm doing. And it was a couple weeks in, I woke up and the app on my phone had just crashed overnight. And as it turns out, I learned apps on phones are not baby monitors, because apps can crash. That's just the nature of it. And if an app crashes, it cannot then force your iPhone to alert you that it has crashed. Mm-hmm. If you forget to plug your phone in at night, and how many of us have thought we plugged it in, you fall asleep, especially when you're sleep deprived, or the plug that you plug it in, the light switch isn't on. If your phone dies, your app can't tell you your phone is dying. And when I woke up and realized that I hadn't been monitoring my son all night long, I sprinted across the house, and of course he was fine. Kids are more resilient than we give them credit for. But it really shattered that sense of peace that I had, because you think you're listening to your kid and you'll hear them if something is wrong. So we went out and bought an old school camera and an old school monitor, Motorola. No offense to Motorola, but they're really good at building cell phones and they were really bad at building baby monitors. It's just cheap plastic junk from China that, they broke multiple times across our multiple kids. But the important part is it only exists to broadcast video and audio from the camera. And so if there is a loss of connection, it will beep at you. If you forget to plug it in, it will slowly beep at you to tell you to plug it in. If there's a power outage, it will alert you that you're no longer monitoring your kid. But then we kept a Wi-Fi camera. We threw away the Nanny, but brought in a Nest camera because we had a nanny that came. My wife and I worked together at Mizen and Main, and you kind of want to just be able to check in, just feel confident that things are the way that they're supposed to be. And then when we had a second child, we had 2 Wi-Fi cameras, 2 radio direct cameras, and then 2 monitors, because if you want to listen to 2 kids on one monitor, the audio can only cycle back and forth, and that is terrible to listen to. One kid's screaming, one kid's not, you get screaming, silence, screaming, silence. And so that background is really important because when it comes to, strollers and car seats and the baby bugaboo, the bouncing things, there are so many great options, really high quality products. And for baby monitors, it's just not. And I hacked together multiple systems for years, and I learned so did a lot of other parents. And when you talk to parents, when you first learn you're having a kid, everyone's like, you got to get this, you got to get this, you got to get this. No one feels that way about a baby monitor. And now, having interviewed thousands of parents, there really isn't a love of that product, and yet it's a central product that you use for 3 to 4 years per child across multiple children that is your monitoring of these kids overnight. This is really central. So with that, Harper solves all of these problems. It is a camera and a monitor that connect directly to each other without internet, and both devices also connect to the internet. So you have a dedicated failsafe monitor that alerts you if you lose connection, and then you also have all the benefits of Wi-Fi, remote access, an app, you can record, you can rewind. And then my co-founder and I did a lot of really intentional things, such as putting the AI chip and the memory chip in the camera itself. So we as a company do not store or process any of our users' footage. All the other Wi-Fi companies, they send everything to their cloud, they store it in their cloud, they process it in their cloud. I don't know how many of them are using users' footage for models or learnings or other things with or without people's permission, or buried deep in 32 pages of user consents. And so from a security perspective, with end-to-end encryption, there really is nothing like Harper relative to any of the other products on the market today. We also just designed it from our own experiences. So with a 10-inch monitor, you can watch up to 4 different kids on one monitor. Or you could do 3 kids and a playroom. You can control the zoom and the volume of each feed independently. You can reorder them and resize them. Just very convenient things that, as a parent, we thought, why has no one fixed this problem? And then very importantly, and we can talk more about the technology, we did 2 things to help parents and kids get more sleep. One was we created smart audio. If your child is 2 years old and coughs in the middle of the night, you do not need to hear it. But with every other baby monitor, you either hear everything or nothing. And so we created something where you can control the level of noise or interaction that you want to be notified of. So you can say, unless it's a loud cry or lasts longer than 5 seconds, I don't want to hear it, because you don't need to hear it. When they're very young, you need to hear everything. But when they get older, kids make a lot of noise for a long time. And then the second thing is we've created a remote night nanny. And what we're doing is democratizing access to sleep expertise. An in-home night nurse can be $300 to $700 a night, depending on where you are in the country, if you can even find one. And there are plenty of horror stories of nurses who fall asleep on the job because night shift work in other people's home is really tough. And so what we've done is, because we built the camera and the monitor, you can hire our professionally trained night nurses to, when you opt in, to control the zoom or to control the audio from afar. So when you hire us and you turn over the system to us, we turn the volume down to 0 all night long. And we only wake you up when a professionally trained night nurse says, it's time for you to go in. And that has transformed the lives of the parents that we've been working with so far.